Welcome to Geocache Adventures with me, Shadow Dragon 1, where I explore the world of geocaching. If you enjoy the show, please consider leaving a review wherever you listen to podcasts or on the Geocache Adventures Facebook page. You can also follow Geo Adventures on Buy Me a Coffee for a behind-the-scenes look on every episode. That's one word, GEO Adventures. It's free to follow, or you can become a member and unlock exclusive posts and information. Your memberships go a long way for helping support the podcast and are greatly appreciated. Hi everybody, it's Amy, Shadow Dragon 1, and with me today is fellow geocacher and human trackable, Kitten Davis. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hey everybody.
So this is actually the third part in a 3-part mini-series on human trackables. And the first two, they both had tattoos. Yours is different, and we'll get into that in a minute. But to start off, can you tell me about your geocaching name? Because you, interestingly enough, have had 2 geocaching names.
Yeah, when I first started, I had a geocaching named Little Fox, and I guess, that was in 2000 at the end of the summer, but I guess somewhere in 2002 or 2003, they changed platforms and my account ended up getting deleted. So I didn't want to start a new account with the same name because the old account still had, logs on it and stuff, but there's no way of retrieving it. So I created the new account and I kept Little Fox, but I added my business initials, which is KDK9s. So the letter K, the letter D for my initial, Kitten Davis, and then K9 because I train search and rescue dogs. And yes, I do use them to find geocaches.
That's awesome.
Hey, I get to kill 2 birds with 1 stone.
Yeah.
I get to geocache and I get to log it down as article and evidence recovery training for the dogs. So
that's awesome. We may have to have another talk about that because that sounds awesome.
Oh, about all the things that I cheated on. Okay, another story, another time. So anyway.
Yeah.
So my name on my geocaching account right now is KDK9s. KDK9's Little Fox. I leave the Little Fox on there because there are several geocaches in Utah that still have the original logbooks in them, and I don't want somebody to, say that I didn't get it. But someday I might go back and find my big old stack of printout papers, because that was back in the day you had to print everything out and log it in all by hand. I might find my stack of papers and go back and log them back in on this account, but I have proof that, Little Fox was my original name.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. So your stats are kind of a little varied then.
My stats are nothing.
Yeah.
My stats are nothing. Back in the day, you used to be able to log a cache twice or 3 times when you went back to it. And me doing search and rescue with the dogs, I taught search and rescue. I taught navigation and compass and GPS. So I would use the geocaches. For training for the other handlers in the canine team and the other search and rescues, search and rescue people. So yeah, but see, my stats were skewed on that account too, because I went back to the same geocache, 15, 20, 30, 40 times whenever there was a new search and rescue person or a new dog.
And you could just keep logging it over and over at that point.
Yeah, you could. Back then you could.
Back then, yeah.
Yeah. So, but with this account, I think I had 32 different geocaches that I had logged multiple times. And so at one point in time, I had just sat down and I had deleted all of the logs except for the original one.
Okay.
So, but there's still couple thousand in the first account that I have to either find those papers or go back to the geocache and say, oh yeah, there was one there. But a lot of them have been archived now. So
yeah.
But I've never been into numbers. I don't care.
Yeah.
I use geocaching for search for search and rescue, but I also use geocaching to travel with, because you see the most wonderful things that you'd never know. I lived in Washington State, up by Seattle on the Olympic Peninsula, until I was 24.
Okay.
And until 3 years ago, I never knew that there was two waterfalls within 10 miles of my house.
Oh,
No clue.
wow.
No clue. And I just found them a couple years ago when I went home to visit. And I was like, oh, well, there's a bunch of geocaches in this place. I'm going to go check them out. And I'm like, wait, what? A waterfall? There are no waterfalls around here. What are you talking about? And sure enough, there was one there. So
That's awesome.
we use it to travel with, to see history and stuff. So
That's pretty cool. Yeah, I don't care too much about my own stats, but I'm an engineer, so I love looking at charts and graphs and hearing what
ah,
other people have done. And it, yeah, I'm sitting at like 249 or something. My stats aren't that impressive, but I'm like, yeah, I don't care so much about mine, but I like to hear what other people are doing.
yeah, I've been working on my, what's that Jasmine
Oh,
thing?
the
You have to get
Jasmer.
one every day of the year. Is
Oh,
that
the
which one's that?
365 or the calendar thing or
Yeah, the calendar one. I
yeah,
have
filling out the
February
calendar.
left. Yeah, I have February left, and then the one that you have to get a geocache placed in every month or every year. So January, May 2000, I found a cache that was placed in May 2000, and then June 2000, July
That one I
2000.
think is the Jasmer. Yeah.
I only have two left. I have September and December,
Oh, wow.
and the closest one is in Florida.
Oh, Florida's a bit of a hike for you.
Yeah, and then the other one, and then there's some other ones that I mean, it's like California and so or Colorado or something like that. So I got to get those. I got to get those last two done, and then I'm good. I mean, there's some people that say that oh, I filled my calendar up like 5 times. Okay, I'm doing good to do once.
Yeah.
I'm rocking it if I do it once.
Yeah, when I first started, I started trying to do some of that stuff and then I was like this just feels like work. So I'm
Yeah,
not going to worry so much about that. But I
yeah.
do find it interesting what other people like to do with it. So it's different for everybody.
I don't look at my graphs so much, the charts and the stats.
Yeah.
But when I do look at them and I have like 4 left because I've already done all the rest,
Might as well try. Yeah.
then it's on.
Yeah.
Yeah, then it's on. So, and who doesn't want to go to Florida? I mean, come on.
Yeah, especially during the winter.
Exactly. Exactly.
So, how did you get into geocaching?
Search and rescue. Yeah. It came, the new satellite thing came out, and the opening day,
Yeah.
May. No, it's just search and rescue. I had started training the dogs, and I've always been into maps and compasses because but like I said, I grew up in Washington, so we hunted, fished, hiked. We always needed to know which way to get back out to back to camp and stuff.
Right.
So I learned that stuff as a child. So then when it came out, it's like, wait, what? I don't have to carry a map and a compass anymore? Dude, where do I sign up? So then I went and got a GPS, and back then they were honky things. I mean, they were big, and started, learning how to use it, because everybody else wanted, said, what do you got there? I was like, GPS. You don't have to have a compass anymore. Guess what? Track back to my car. I'm good. So I started using it there, and geocaching. Geocaching is a great way to keep your skills up. So, like with search and rescue, I'll start them out with a map and a compass, and I'll show them how to use that, and then I'll show them how to use their phone. The phones have compasses and maps and everything on that, and
Right.
then we use the GPS, and then I'll get a couple of geocaches, and I'll say, okay, well, these 2 geocaches You can use your cell phones or use a GPS or whatever, but you have to log in, because I give them a piece of paper and they have to log in the information, the latitude and longitude. But the last two, all the cell phones and GPSs go in this basket. You need to break out your map and compass, and everybody starts groaning. What do we for? Well, you know what? Your GPS and your cell phone battery just died.
Yeah.
So it's a little more difficult to get narrowed down a geocache. But with the maps that we get, they go from big maps to little maps, and they can pretty much get within at least 20 feet, 30 feet of an area. So I mean, if you're looking for a victim,
yeah,
you've got them. But if you're looking for articles and evidence, that's where you bring in the dogs. So let's do that way. Faster.
Very cool. So you are a human trackable, which seems to be a growing, I don't want to call it a fad because it's pretty permanent type thing. Trend. Thank you. That's a good word for it. A growing trend. But yours is different than a tattoo. So you have a trackable surgical implant, correct?
It's a medical implant.
A medical implant.
Now, people have actually put implants in them, but they're not medically necessary. How it all started, I went up to Washington and spent most of the first start of COVID with my father, taking care of him to make sure that he was okay. And when I was out geocaching, I twisted my foot and I ended up breaking one of my metatarsals in my right foot. So then they gave me a shoe, a little shoe thing to put on my foot. Not the boot. It was a shoe.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. If it would have been the boot, I wouldn't have this trackable. So it was a shoe. So all I did was I slipped my foot into it with my heel back up against it. And then it had a strap that went across the metatarsals and a strap that went across your toes, around your ankle and across your toe. But I still geocached.
So it didn't heal up so well.
Well, in that shoe, the strap that went across my metatarsals, I had stepped in some holes. And every time I stepped in the holes, because we were out in a field, it was like a cattle field, a horse field. I stepped in a couple of holes, and the fourth hole, I felt them crunch.
Ooh.
So I ended up crushing 4 of the 5 metatarsals in my right foot. The only one that didn't get crushed was my big toe.
Oh my goodness.
So I had to get back out of the field. So I got back out of the field and I went to the doctor and I said, "Yo, doc, I think something might be wrong." And he's, so anyway, he said, "Well, let's take a look." So he took a look on the x-ray and he says, "Well, you've actually crushed them for all 4 of them. There's no longer just a break. There's 4 of them." So then he put me in a boot. But it still went geocaching.
Oh my gosh.
I went to Indiana. We went to Indiana to Turkey Run Park, or Turkey Run Park, I think it was.
Okay.
And it was a nice little trail, a nice flat little trail. And then we got to going along the side of this cliff, and then we got to some rocks. And I'm like, dude, I ain't going back. It's 2 miles back that way. It's only half mile this way. But we had to go up through the rocks. Boulders.
Yeah.
And so I just used my boot, wedged it in between the rocks to help me get through it. But yeah. So anyway, I was in the boot for probably a year and a half.
Oh, wow.
And they took another x-ray because they finally said, take the boot off. And I told them, I said, there's something wrong. There's still something wrong because the outer edge of my foot hurts,
Yeah.
And so they took an x-ray. They couldn't see anything. So he says, well, we'll do an MRI because if something's still broken, it'll glow in the MRI.
Right.
Well, not my pinky toe, but my ring finger toe, that metatarsal had actually split like two pieces of bread.
Ooh.
So you lay down a piece of bread,
Yeah.
you put another one on top of it, it split that way. It didn't break across. It split. So every time I walked, it would like the gap
Ooh.
would.
Ooh, I'm cringing just at the thought of that.
That's what was still hurting, was when I would walk, the bottom part of the bone would bow down and the top part of the bone would bow up. Anyway, so I had a fracture in the middle. And he said, well, the only way we could fix that is to put you in the boot again for like another 6-8 months. And I'm like, I'm already losing muscle tone, or put plates and pins in. And I said, yo, doc, if you put a plate in, I got a question for you. So I thought, you know what? Let's make lemonade. No, well, let's make lemon meringue pie out of lemons. So I got a pretty good in with my doctor. So he said, sure, I'll let him know.
So okay, let's back up a second. So you go, hey doc, I want this to be a geocaching trackable.
Mm-hmm.
Did he have any idea what you were talking about?
As a matter of fact, he did, which is why he did it. So the pins aren't trackable. My plate has the number on it.
Okay. I'm trying to wrap my head around this. So how did you get the number onto the plate?
That's where having an in with your doctor is the key. But that's my secret.
Okay. Okay. We're gonna say HIPAA rules here apply and we can't discuss it, huh?
There we go.
Oh, now my mind is really racing. Okay, so you decide to make the best of things. Somehow you convince the doctor to go along with it. So usually when you get a custom trackable, you have to get some sort of approval from HQ, right?
Well, I called him. I called it, and I did get it approved. I explained to them what I was doing. But what I called to get approved was how people were going to find the trackable, because I didn't want them frisking me. You know what I mean? Because it's not there. It's not there. It's on the inside of my foot. So the approval came from the tool of the trade that they need to find it.
Okay.
Okay. So when I go out, I have this big long black thing. Well, it's about a foot and a half long, and about maybe 4 or 5 inches wide. And on the outside bag, it says TOTT, and it's in the bag's black, the letters are white, and they're actually glow in the dark.
Oh, that's cool.
So when I'm out at events, I don't go around showing off, like my, here's my tattoo, track it. This is a trackable for people that are on the ball. People will ask me, hey, what's the big TOTT thing? And I'll tell them, well, it's the tool of the trade that you have to use to find my personal trackable. And they're like, wait, what? And so I'll whip it out and I'll show them. And I'm always wearing a t-shirt. I have a t-shirt that was made from artedcrafted.com. He made me a couple of custom t-shirts, and it has the little trackable girl on it. And he's put a circle with a cross over the head, like no smoking, the circle with the line through it, no smoking. So he's put a no over my head, and he's put a no over my torso, that the arms are out.
Okay.
So basically, you don't use the tool of the trade on my head, and you don't wad my torso or my my abdomen. So you basically you just use the tool of the trade on my arms and my legs.
Okay.
And he made me a really cool one for Halloween. It shows the little trackable girl with zombie legs.
Oh, that's
and zombie
cool.
hands, And then on the back of it, it shows a pile of zombie legs and arms in the pile. So
That's
but
funny.
the tool of the trade is actually a hand metal detector, like the wand that they use at the airport.
Okay.
So they can wand my arms and they can wand my legs. And then when they get down to my feet, it's a little difficult in the winter time because of boots.
Yeah.
But I usually, if I'm indoors, I'll usually take my boots off and put on little slippers
Okay.
or like flip flops or something that don't have any metal. So, but when they get down to my foot, it'll beep, and then they get to sign my log because I have a little special log there. And then if it's an event and if it's an event, and there's a lot of people there, and somebody is paying attention, whoever is the first one to find my trackable, they get my personal little fox 3D printed uh, coin. Well, and the coin's not trackable, but they get a coin because they were the first one that found my TB at the event.
That's cool. So I gotta ask, when people get this tool, do they typically just start with the arms and it work? Like, does everybody start up and work their way down, basically, or do you have people ever
They
start down and work up?
well, I'll put my arms out so that they can do it, and I'll tell them, don't wand my head or the trunk,
Yeah.
you know. But I usually tell them, okay, so I'll put my arms out, and they automatically start with my arms, because I put my arms out.
Right. Okay.
So and they're like, wait, there's nothing there. And I'm like, okay, well, now you can do the legs. So hence, that's why I have the t-shirts showing the circle with the line through it, that you don't want my head and you don't want, my torso or my trunk or anything like that. I don't know. I don't know what a metal detector would do, but I really don't want people metal detecting the rest of my body. Um, because I do have metal in my body in a couple other places, but that's not what they're looking for. Because I have pins and plates and stuff in my back too. So, but
Okay.
that's not what they're looking for. They're looking for the trackable one because those aren't trackable.
So they find the plate, and you have your own logbook that you keep that people sign, and then you give them the number to discover it. Is that how it works?
Yeah, on the top of the page, it'll say what event I'm at because at each event I start a new page in my logbook.
Okay.
So at the top of the page, it says what event I'm at. It says what day, and in big numbers, it says the trackable code so that they can log it.
Oh,
But
okay.
I don't just hand out that book. That is only the people that have found it get to see the code to log it.
Okay. Got to put in the work to get the reward.
Yeah, my trackable is even more elusive than car trackables. Nobody, a lot of people are like, they don't do car trackables because nobody ever finds them. Well, mine, you have to know about it. You have to do a little bit of exploring to find it, um, and then you get to log it. So mine's a little more, I don't know, elusive or exclusive. But you gotta know what you're looking at, And if I don't have my T-shirt on, because sometimes I work at the events,
Oh, okay.
and like I worked at Mingo. I worked down at Mingo. I did not wear my shirt because I didn't want people bugging me when I was trying to hand out the bags,
Right, while you
the
were
swag
doing your
bags,
job.
and yeah, when I was doing my job. So, but a lot of people come up, hey, aren't you the one that has the trackable that you have to use? I was like, yeah, I am, but I'm working right now, which is why I don't have my tool of the trade with me, and I'm not wearing my shirt. But if I'm wearing my shirt and you see the TOTT hanging on the side of my pants hanging off of it, yeah, you're more than welcome to find it anytime you want.
So, do you go to a lot of events then, I take it?
Not really here in Illinois. My husband and I travel a lot, we've gone all, I mean, we took off for 7 days. He gets 7 days a month off
Oh,
from his job. So, um, and I do snag the tag too. So I had a bunch of snag the tags that I had to hide. So we took off and went down through Iowa, went all the way down to Louisiana, and then went over and came back up through Indiana. And I hit some events there, and we went to Scotland and grabbed some events there. I'm really not a small event person, like ice cream events,
yeah. The meet and greets not so much, but the bigger ones you're into.
Right, right. I do have a Facebook page for here. It's called Rock River Geocachers. And before COVID, we had a meet and greet every month just so that people could get together and talk about the geocaches up and down the Rock River here. But due to COVID, we haven't done any of them. I was going to start them back up this year, but COVID's been so wishy-washy. I don't know if I could handle having somebody get sick and then pass away from one of my events.
Oh, yeah, that would be horrible.
I couldn't handle that. So, but the mega events, yeah, I'm going to one in April.
Moga?
Yeah.
I currently plan on being there depending on what happens with COVID and everything, but
Yeah.
fingers crossed.
Yeah. You can discover my trackable. But the big event, the 2000 event that's in 2023 now, because we were scheduled to do that, but we're not anymore. So we were going to take that vacation and start in Chicago and head down Route 66, grabbing geocaches and do the Route 66. So, but yeah, I do the main ones. I don't do too often. I'm doing the little ones. There are none out here because I live out in the middle of nowhere.
So it's hard for you to do them.
Yeah, I don't. There's tons of them towards Chicago and the suburbs, but that's like an hour drive for me.
Yeah.
And I hate going into town, into the big city. I hate it. So I just don't go to the little meet and greets. And then there isn't hardly anybody out here. I live in the middle of corn, so there really isn't too awful many people out here that can attend the meet and greets anyway.
Well, that makes sense then.
Yeah. And everybody that knows me from my meet and greets, they all know about it anyway.
They've already discovered you then.
Yeah. Unless they're a newbie. If they're a newbie, then we go through the whole thing.
Well, if I get a chance to meet you at Moga, which I hope I do, I will know to go straight for the feet.
Yeah. Well, if there's a big line of people watching, I just make them, okay, you at least have to wand my foot. So I'll put my foot up on a bench or something and make them wand my foot. You at least got to make it beep.
Did you have a cache that you would like to highlight for us?
There is a cache up in Washington. It's over by Paulsbo. It's over on the Olympic Peninsula. And it's near and dear to me because it's in memory of my stepmother. My stepmother and I had the same name, which is why my nickname is Kitten. Her name was Karen too. And we lived in Paulsbo, and there was a spot down the hill from where we lived that the power company put in a little little transformer things. And my stepmom thought it looked kind of ugly. So she asked if she could buy some trees and put in front of there. And they said, yeah. Well, they went down, my dad and my stepmom went down and dug holes and put the trees in. And then they went and took buckets of water back to water them. Now, mind you, it was a 2-mile hike that my stepmother made every day to take 2 5-gallon buckets down and water 6 trees to keep them alive.
Wow.
And so I put a geocache there in memory of my stepmom. The geocache that I created tells a little story about how she contacted the county and how she walked every day, every for like 3 or 4 summers with 2 5-gallon buckets for like, it was about 2 miles back and forth to keep those trees alive. And 5 of the 6 trees are still living.
Oh, wow.
So this geocache is GC8. E is in Edward, V is in Victor, Y is in Yankee, J is in Juliet. And I call it a small, but because most people would call it a regular size, but I call it a small because I'm generous. I put it out there beside the transformer behind one of their concrete boulders, and it's an easy kids find. And it's always chock full of swag. Every time I go, when I go back home, when I lived up there, I checked on it all the time. But then when I moved back home to Illinois, I went back every 4 months, and then I'd check on it then. And now I go back once a year. But I have a geocacher friend up there that she is caretaker of it. And I just sent a new container just 3 days ago to replace the old container, which the new container is bigger, full of new swag that will get you out there. Will be put out there just as soon as she gets it in the mail. But there's a lot of them. There's a lot of really cool caches around Paulsbo. There's a lot of adventures around Paulsbo. It's an old Norwegian town. So there's a lot of history there. So when you're coming from the mainland, which we call the mainland because we lived out on the Olympic Peninsula,
Mm-hmm.
You come from Edmonds to go to Paulsbo. If you take the back road, you drive right past it, which takes you up onto the hill in Paulsbo, and then you just kind of work your way down the hill into Paulsbo and out the other side. And there's some really cool caches down in there in Paulsbo.
Okay.
Fun place to visit. If you go to Paulsbo, Washington, you will definitely want to at least spend an entire day, if not 2, to get all the caches and see all the sites and check out some of the history.
Sounds awesome. And what a great way to honor your stepmom and her trees by putting a memorial cache there for her.
Yeah, she was cool. She was a great lady. She was a great lady. I miss her. She passed away when she was 58.
Oh, that's too young.
Well, she was pretty young. Yeah, 58, 59, somewhere around there. She was pretty young. So I just wanted to keep her memory alive, but nobody knew about those trees. Nobody knows when you drive by them. There's like nobody knows that what she did and how much effort and love and care she put into keeping those trees alive to block the view of that nasty power transfer station. So.
Well, that's really cool. Thank you for sharing that with us. And you sent me some photos of your custom t-shirts and the tool of the trade in its secret mystical bag.
I'll send you a picture of my
the coin. That'd be great. Yeah. Well, I'll put those in the show notes and people can check those out.
Coin. It's a token.
Token.
Not a coin.
Yes.
Token.
My bad. The token. It's a very cool token. Thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing your stories with us and taking time out of your day to do this. I really appreciate it.
I love geocaching. I love teaching geocaching. I teach it to search and rescue. I teach it in libraries. I just love teaching people how to get out and explore their world around them, because there's things literally like me in my backyard There was a couple waterfalls that I had no idea about. I love teaching people new things and getting them outside and having fun with them.
Geocaching's a perfect way for that. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you. Anytime.
Thank you for listening to Geocache Adventures. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Have you heard of FTF Magazine? It's the magazine for geocachers, filled with articles and snippets sent in by geocachers just like you. I'm a subscriber myself, and I love it. Check them out today at ftfgeo.com and tell them Shadow Dragon 1 sent you. Would you like to be a guest on a show or have a topic you'd like to hear covered? Reach out and let me know. Just go to the geocacheadventures.org website and click on the contact page to reach out.